Actually, it was Marcia's idea first. She's always wanted to do that. I learned raising a daughter that I loved high school and I loved college age kids. And so I have to say my daughter taught me that. And we thought that we were both professional artists and what the perfect place would be for us at this age. We were self-driven. These kids are self-driven. They don't need an assignment. They just need attention and to learn about skills when they need them. So we invented this place that was different than most after-school art studios.
I started thinking really seriously about YAC about 8 years before we actually were able to open our doors. It was just an idea that would not leave me alone. I'd be working on my art in my studio. I'd be thinking about it. Everybody I ran into that I thought had anything to do with the city or the school system, I'd talk with them about it. Meg and I also, as parents, volunteered in the schools a lot, doing stage sets, doing career day, projects within the classroom throughout our daughter's school years. And so we knew a lot of teachers. We were known by, at least this part of the school district, and had garnered trust, because that's a big thing. If you're going to send your kids somewhere, you want to make sure you trust the people you send them to. 1999, Al Shugart, who I want Meg to talk about Al, and how that happened. How
I was doing a comic strip with Al. He was running his dog for Congress, and so he needed a comic strip about it. And so, and I'm a cartoonist, a classically trained one, but however, I'm a cartoonist. And so he and I had a great relationship, working relationship. It was unusual. Here's a guy who started Seagate, and here's a cartoonist. And so we got together and did this once a week for 7 years. Halfway through that, we went to him for our initial seed money. We did have meetings with the city, et cetera, but nobody wanted to move fast enough. And every time we would reschedule a meeting, we'd hear kids fall through the cracks. So we went to him for the private monies and to test our theories out, to test our experiment out. And then we were able, once we saw that it was working, to apply for grants and get private donations.
The biggest obstacle truly is keeping funding coming in. I was very naive. I thought all we need is 3 grants and we're good to go. And that is not the case. It takes so much more than that.
You have to know that when you start something like this, especially if you're the 2 artists who invented the place, you really need to have a good board of directors.
Right. Oh.
An active board of directors,
right,
who really care about your vision and who have shared vision. It's really important. And we have a marvelous one. At the very beginning, we had a small board, and Marcia and I were doing almost all the work. You can only do that so much and still run the program. The program is what works.
Right.
And
right.
So now we're in a great place where we have a great active board, and they're being very helpful in the fundraising.
All of the adults that work here also mentor the kids. And when I say mentor, it's not only in art skills and teaching them different techniques. It is checking in with each one of them every day that they're here and saying, how are you? And really listening and feeling whether they are having a hard time with anything in their life, and being there to be able to listen to them and talk with them. And other adults in their lives that aren't going to ground them and aren't going to judge them, but that we can maybe help steer them.
Finding a sense of joy.
Yeah.
In a period of your life that doesn't always come your way. It's very tumultuous, 14 to 22. I'm still getting over it, and that was how many years ago. But anyway, it's a time of great change. It can be wonderful. It can be devastating. It can be all those things. But it's kind of like at Yak, we're almost hand-holding them to their best selves, to that next level, to adulthood, sort of adulthood at 23. But finding a sense of joy.
As I say, I love these kids to see non-tragic artists. Non-tragic adult artists is a great thing. And there's many of us out there. It's just the stories of art. I mean, the phrase starving artists has always bothered me deeply.
That's one of our core values.
And one of our core values is that we feed these kids. There's always food here.
The difference between this place and looking at the pictures on the wall and just a gallery is that the art is going on at the very same time. There's something very electric about the artwork happening. It's the creative process happening.
One of the recent things that I read a book a few years ago by Daniel Pink that's a futurist called A Whole New Mind. And his belief is that the future economy belongs to the creatives and the caretakers. And if you think about it, I think he's pretty right on. And it made me feel so much better because sometimes I thought, oh my God, are we just sending these kids to the slaughter? Because it's not an easy life to come out of college.
We're not dramatic here.
Go, okay, I'm going to make my living making art. It's not that simple.
Okay, so Logan was one of our earlier Yaksters, and she went on to college and then went on to graduate school in scientific illustration, and then taught some out at CSUMB, and then worked here. She did work for me, helping me do the program work, the work that doesn't really affect the kids so much, but she was helpful as a mentor as well. She's an exquisite watercolorist and acrylic painter, and a human being. And she gets Yak because she was a Yakster. And she's great with tech. And so for me to develop our new website, she and I, having the same tastes, also developed our new website together. She worked for us for a brief period of time, and I was feeling this great sense of relief, like, oh, this is it. My right arm, my brain. And suddenly she got hired by York to be the art teacher, which is success.
Yes.
I was devastated for a minute and mostly thrilled. And I'm so thrilled for her and for York. And that's quite a success story right there. Yeah, it is. It's completely awesome. And she's still doing tech work.
One of the greatest compliments we get is, I want to start a Yak someday. And we always say, go do your art, really get immersed into that. So when you do, you have something to teach instead of trying to do something like that at a young age and not having really the experience behind you. And I think Meg's and my experience as artists, we both started in our own art careers at age 20, each of us. So between the two of us, I said yesterday, Meg, between the two of us, we've got 83 years of art experience. And so, yeah. There should be after-school trade programs for kids that want to learn how to be mechanics or carpenters, that woodworking, all of that. I would love to see other adults in those fields go, I'd like to start something like that. Because in my mind, there is need all over for kids to feel like they're valued and that their future counts, and that adult members of the community are invested in making sure that they, whatever field that they want to excel in, that they have a chance. And I love what you guys are doing for our community to inform people.